Fred and Denny were watching Chef Julian masterfully flip crepes into the air. It wasn't breakfast time, but it didn't have to be. Crepes were the best comfort food ever, no matter what time of day it was. And Fred knew how much his son loved them. So asked Chef Julian to whip some up in their world-class kitchen. Denny whooped and laughed as the crepes flew up in the air, and Fred tousled the boy's hair, so happy to have him back.
"Jake,"
began Fred.
"I've been thinking. Things have been kind of crazy around here for the last few days. Maybe we should get away for a few days. What do you think, kiddo? Just you and your old dad? Maybe we just need to have some fun. You pick a spot."
"Me? Anywhere, really?" asked Denny.
"Anywhere you want, sport,"
said Fred. Denny's eyes grew animated. "Oh, can we get one of those space rockets and see outer space?" Fred laughed.
"I meant anywhere in the world, son. Maybe you can see space when you're grown up. But let's keep the fun on Earth for now, huh?"
"Okay, what about," began Denny, wondering if maybe Fred would take him back to London to see his friends there. Until very recently, that's where Denny, his mother, his sister Sammy, and Nora the nanny had lived. He'd grown up there, and he missed the London eye, peering down over the city no matter the weather, the fish and chips, and the London buses, and so many other things that had made the city home. New York City was really something, but he wasn't used to it yet. However, just as Denny got up the nerve to ask Fred to take him to London, he heard a commotion. Fred heard the commotion too and steeled himself. He'd known that this would happen at some point. He knew Beatrice would try to come home and pretend that nothing was wrong. She'd pretend that she hadn't ever hit Jake. She'd claim that she loved both of them. This time, however, Fred was finished with it, and finished with Beatrice. He'd had the locks to the penthouse changed.
"Chef Julian," said Fred, "please continue with the crepes. I'll be back shortly to eat mine with my son. There's just something I need to take care of first. Jake, be a good boy and stay here for a bit, okay? You can start on your crepes without me and think about where you might like to go on our special trip."
"Okay, Dad," Denny replied dutifully. Chef Julian nodded and poured more batter onto the crepe pan.
"Petit monsieur, watch. Maybe I can teach you how to flip one," he said, winking at the boy's father as Fred left the room.
"Cool! Yes, please!" Fred heard his son yell excitedly as he left the massive kitchen on his way to the front door. Before he got to the front door, Fred took out his phone and dialed the security desk.
"I know, sir,"
answered the flustered security guard who had been expecting this call ever since Beatrice marched straight past him onto the elevator, despite not being allowed to enter the building anymore on Fred's orders.
"I'm on it, Mr. Smith," said the guard. "Terribly sorry, sir."
"Handle it," spat Fred, before hanging up on the guard before he could even finish apologizing. Fred opened the door and saw Beatrice standing there. She did look magnificent. Clearly, she had gone shopping and to the spa, all at his expense, no doubt. The thought of this made Fred even angrier.
"You shouldn't be here, Beatrice."
"Fred, darling," she purred, pretending nothing was wrong. "You didn't even notice my new outfit. I'm hurt. Oh, and you simply must call a locksmith. There's something wrong with the door."
"I already called the locksmith, dear. They changed the locks, just as I asked them to. None of your keys work anymore because this is no longer your home. Your things are being packed, and they will be sent to the address of your choice. You can't stay at the Four Seasons anymore."
"What?" Beatrice was completely taken aback by Fred's newfound boldness.
"Well, I should explain."
Fred folded his arms in front of him.
"You can certainly stay at the Four Seasons if you want to. But I will not be paying for it anymore. You'll either be paying for it yourself, or you'll be checking out tomorrow morning. Oh, and I've canceled your credit cards, too."
The edge of Beatrice's mouth twitched with anger. At least she'd been to the spa and the boutique before he'd cut her off, she thought bitterly. "But, Fred—"
"But Fred, nothing," he answered matter-of-factly. "This relationship is over. You'll direct any inquiries to Malley Martinson Sneed, my law firm of record."
Beatrice sneered. "Malley Martinson Sneed. Only the best for you, Fred, even when you're choosing divorce attorneys." Beatrice realized as soon as that left her mouth that she'd said it out loud. This kind of talk would not help her get Fred back. Beatrice dug deep within herself and started to cry big fake tears, not caring that her eye makeup was running and that she would look like a raccoon. "Fred, please," she began. "I love you. I love Jake. I don't want this divorce. I was there for you, Fred. I waited 3 long years at your bedside for you to recover from your coma. Is that worth nothing to you?"
"Save it, Beatrice," he answered flatly as Max, the bodyguard, appeared in the doorway behind Fred, and a throng of security guards emptied into the hallway from the elevator. "You're leaving now, even if you have to be dragged out."
"Call my mother," she wailed in a last-ditch effort. Certainly her mother would be able to convince Fred to stop this. "Call her, Fred. Tell her that you're going to be keeping her beloved grandson from her. Explain it. If you want me gone so badly, then you have to at least do that."
"If I call her, will you leave?" Fred asked calmly, reaching for his phone.
"Yes," said Beatrice, betting everything on her mother's ability to change Fred's mind after Beatrice herself had been unable to. So, Fred dialed his mother-in-law's phone number. But, "The number you have dialed is not in service," answered a computerized voice. Fred looked at the phone again to check that he had dialed the number correctly. He'd dialed it straight from his contacts. The number was right. "What?" asked Beatrice, sensing his confusion.
"Listen for yourself," Fred answered, as Beatrice took the phone from her husband's hand and held it up to her own ear.
"The number you have dialed is not in service," droned the computerized voice over and over. The blood drained from Beatrice's face. Why would her mother's phone number be disconnected? Before Beatrice could respond, Fred snatched his phone back from her, and the security guards closed in around Beatrice.
"Please, show Miss Sinclair out," he directed them, notably using Beatrice's maiden name now.
No, wait!" wailed Beatrice as the guards dragged her toward the elevator.
Hi, Quinn here, and if you're wondering what happens next, click on the link in the description to listen to the full audio series. You can also watch the next episode here in the playlist.